What is going on, baseball fans? Welcome back to WHADDYA SHEA. Let me just start with this. I've missed you all. We took a nice little 2-week break. We haven't been on since spring training started, but the gang is back. The boys are back together. Entertainah, the Mage, Tino, we're all here. We're ready to talk about all the spring training, all the storylines. We figured, you know what, we haven't been here for all the games. Let's just sum it all up. Let's bring it all together. But let's start right there, guys. A lot of Mets news has been swirling around over the last 2 weeks. From what you've seen so far, where do they line up? Are you happy about spring training going on right now, or like does it feel back? Does baseball feel back yet?
I'm starting to get that itch. And I'll tell you, I started to get the itch during the NBA All-Star break because I'm a big Knicks fan. The Knicks have started. They've kind of kept my sports interest at bay, being that the New York Giants it's the dead time before free agency and everything else.
There's a cream for that, right?
What'd you say, Mage?
There's a cream for that. I'm just letting you know.
But once they went on the All-Star break, we got like a week off, and then I started to get that craving for baseball. Now it's hard for me to get super into spring training. I start to really get into it maybe a week before the season, but once April 1st comes around, I'm going to start to really get geared up. I'll be talking a ton of baseball in here. We'll be doing a ton of live streams on my channel, and hopefully funnel some people over to here. But I'm super excited about the Mets this year. Like I said last podcast, I think we're going to be in contention to win the National League East.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gassed up about it. I can't wait. I know we're getting some questions already. Thomas Tino, shout out. Thank you, MH. We're going to get to all your questions in a hot second. I do want to give us the chance, though, just to kind of talk about the main things. Talk about this team in general. We have the best pitcher in baseball. Let's go right there. We have the best pitcher in baseball. I know he wasn't pitching today, but he was pitching pretty damn recently. DeGrom's pitched 5 innings, 10 strikeouts in those 5 innings. He's allowed 1 hit and 1 walk. Pretty good. It's pretty
good. His last start, if I'm not mistaken, he went 9 up, 9 down. I think he struck out 7.
Yeah. So we can talk about specifics. He saw 9, struck out 7, and threw harder as the game went on. From what I've heard, several hundreds and a 102. So he just gets better. I don't know how that's possible, but he just gets better. So, hey, man, I'm glad he's on our team. That's all I can say. I'm glad he's on our team, man.
You're damn right.
Garrett Cole says otherwise. I'll pull something up right away. You know what? Me and Mage debate Murph on Clapback Sports all the time about it. I really don't think it's a conversation anymore. I feel like it's the same topic like when DeGrom and Scherzer lined up and everyone said, "Oh, Scherzer, DeGrom." It's DeGrom, everybody else. It's just what it is. It's okay though. It's okay.
I agree with you. I mean, DeGrom to me, he's been at Garrett Cole's optimal level consistently. Like Garrett Cole's best year, that's DeGrom every year for like the last 4 years. So to me, it's not even a conversation other than the fact that Garrett Cole plays for the New York Yankees and he got a huge contract. But I don't even think they're comparable. That's not to say Garrett Cole doesn't have the upside that Jacob DeGrom has. And that's not even an insult, like you said, to Cole. DeGrom is on another level. The guy is on another level. He's the best pitcher in baseball, and he's been the best pitcher in baseball for about a 4 or 5 year period.
Mage, the people think you look very excited, especially MH. He says you look pumped as always. Are you pumped? How are you feeling over there?
I am pumped, but I think MH is being sarcastic, which I love. So because I always bring that type of enthusiasm to the podcast. I have a better I have a better face for podcasting than I do live streaming. So my voice is what keeps bringing the people back, but the face not so much. But I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. But however, it's still spring training. I'm not going to read that much into it. We got Pete Alonso crushing baseballs. Like you said, Jacob DeGrom is out there dealing. I mean, touching 102 miles per hour on the radar gun. And from everything that I heard, I mean, he's doing it flawlessly. I mean, he's increased his arsenal. How is he not the best pitcher in baseball right now? I agree with a lot of people. Red Tesla, hello, Red. Thank you for joining us again. Big Play Slay in the house. I saw John as well. So you're right. Best pitcher on the planet, not even in Major League Baseball. So I agree with you guys. Jacob deGrom all the way, man. I'm excited about this rotation.
So you touched on it real quick. Let's talk about Pete. Last time we were on, he was my guy that said where I said that he would be the player that I expect the biggest turnaround from on this team. Just in regards of, obviously, I still believe he didn't do that bad at the end of the year, but this was an important season for Pete. I think no one's a bigger critic on him than himself. He deleted his social media, really locked in. And look, it's paying dividends, man. I think he has 3-4 doubles already. He had one today. He's been clutch in spring training for whatever that's worth. He was the opposite of clutch last year other than his walk-off. I think he has 3-4 dingers. One's a grand slam. It was an absolute piss missile. I mean, he's hitting the ball all over the field. He's slashing over 300. And I think the underlining thing right now that everyone's still harping on is that he strikes out. When he doesn't make contact with the ball, it's not a double or a home run. It's just a strikeout. I just think that's what it is right now. Pete's turning into a pure power hitter. He's going to bat 4 in this lineup most days, and I'm fine with that. If he slashes 260 and can get to 35, 40 home runs with 100 RBIs, dude, that's
what Delgado was. I mean, that's what you want from your first baseman. I'll take 30. I'll take 260, 35 home runs, 100 RBIs. That's the type of hitter he is. Not every hitter is going to be, the all-around 320, 30 home. He's a power hitter. He's a thumper. That's what he's on this team to do. So I have no issues with that. And I think with the better hitters at the top of the order this year, it should only help him in terms of having more men on base. He's going to see probably better pitches. Pitchers will be pitching from the stretch. He'll get more opportunities to knock the ball over the wall. I mean, the top of our order is stacked. He's going to have men on base a lot this year. He's going to have a lot of RBI opportunities.
I want to shout out New York Sports Hub because I know what you're saying. His discipline and his ball recognition on a pitch isn't that great. Look at his at-bat today. If you want to see if Pete's really getting better at the plate, don't think he saw anything but a nasty slider the entire at-bat. Worked the hitter's count 2-0, brought it back to 2-2, fouled off pitches, saw a fastball finally, took it the other way to the right center field gap, brought in the run, tied the game. I mean, that's good hitting, man. I know his plate discipline's been at question. I see Yankees in your bio. People rip Judge for the same thing. Look, just because you strike out a lot doesn't necessarily mean you have shitty plate discipline. It just means you're going up there looking for something particular, obviously a fastball. And when you don't get it, you got to adjust. He's a power hitter. I don't know. Yeah, 260 is fine, man. Really, for me, it's his confidence. Even if he's batting 240, 250, if you can feel Pete on this team, which I think you have in spring training, you saw him celebrating with Dom, I think it only makes everyone around him better. And it makes his team better, without a doubt.
That's true, Tino. I mean, how does he come up in big situations? Is he clutch, right? The one thing, A-Rod, as great of a player as he was, disappeared a lot in playoffs and clutch moments. So, do you see that out of Pete Alonso as the season goes on? If he is batting 240 or 230, but is he coming up in those clutch situations? One of the things that have killed the Mets is runners in scoring position. So, is this team scoring runs? Are they putting runners on base? Are they putting them in scoring position as well? If he's doing those things, I don't think the average is going to matter much.
Yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement with both you guys. I'm not really concerned with Pete. I'm not. I know what we're going to get. I think he's good for at least 35 home runs. The guy's a thumper. He started off poor last year. We went back. We had the same conversation last time in terms of there's plenty of hitters, and it shows more obviously in a shortened season when there's only 60 games. But there are plenty of hitters that notoriously get off the slow starts. I go back to Mark Teixeira. Remember this when he was with the Yankees. He was one of the worst April hitters in baseball history. It seemed that way. He'd always bat like 100 in the month of April. It would take him a month to get going. Let's give the guy a full season. I have full confidence in Pete. I think he's going to rebound to his rookie form. I think he's going to be good for at least 40 home runs. I think he's going to have a big year. And I go back to having Brandon Nimmo back. Brandon Nimmo is important to this lineup. He's going to get on base. He's going to set the table. Not to mention, obviously, some of the acquisitions that we made for this lineup. I think he's going to have ducks on the pond all year. And I think he's going to drive in a boatload of runs. I'm super excited for Pete this year. I'm super excited for this lineup. I look at this lineup, guys. There's not many better. This lineup is really good. The potential is so high. And they have a really good fluctuation in terms of they don't have too much of the same type of hitter. Nimmo's a guy that's going to get on base. McNeil's the type of guy that's going to put the ball in play. Conforto's more or less your all-around hitter, even though he's streaky. They've got a good balance in this lineup. They got a little bit of speed. I love the lineup. Just love the lineup. The overall lineup is great.
Yeah, I mean, top to bottom. I wanted to touch on JK's point. I think he's hitting it on the head. Pete leads the team in strikeouts in spring right now. Great. But he also leads the team in walks right behind JD Davis. JD Davis in his limited plate appearances has 5 walks. I mean, talk about a good eye. You have JD, Dom, Jeff McNeil. Nimmo's pretty solid at the plate. Lindor. These are tough outs.
Yeah.
Like if Pete's the one guy in the lineup that might be a little easier to blow a high fastball pass, it's like, I'll take it. Because if he turns on it, it's going to go 450 feet. I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. I know we're not trying to criticize Alonso too much, but we'll see what he can do on the field. I think if there's anything to knock on him about is his glove still. That's a wait and see, but he's been getting better at it. But let's talk about the lineup real quick. I think it's stapled in. Nimmo's batting about 400 right now in spring, as crazy as that is. The guy's going to lead off. I think it's going to be Nimmo, Lindor at this point. And then where they put Jeff is the question for me, because I don't know who the pure 3 hitter on this team would then be. I think it would make sense if maybe Michael goes to the 3 hole and then Pete's behind him with Dom at the 5, but I don't know. Like, you want Jeff McNeil like deeper in the lineup, because I love him up top.
Jeff to me is a perfect 2-hitter. Perfect 2-hitter, but like you said, I don't know, because Nimmo's also a really good leadoff hitter. They could do what we talked about last time. You bat Nimmo 9, you bat the pitcher 8, you get a double leadoff that way. You could do it that way, but being that Nimmo is so good at getting on base, it's kind of what you want at the top of your order. I don't mind McNeil in the 6th spot, but he to me is a prototypical 2. He's kind of like Daniel Murphy, kind of like LaDuca that one year in 2006 when he was really good at advancing Jose Reyes. That's what McNeil does. He puts the ball in play. He's a tough guy to strike out. And he's probably our best all-around hitter, if we're being honest. I love him in the 2 spot, but you're absolutely right with how stacked this lineup is. Lindor's probably going to be in the 2 hole, and I think you got to leave Conforto in that 3 spot, and he's not really a 5. I think he's either like a 2 or a 6, so if he's not a 2, I think he'll be in that 6 spot.
Yeah, so I want to touch on New York Sports MC's question. He asked it twice. How have we looked defensively, third and center? I will say Nimmo's looked great in center, but if we're talking about defensively, I mean, third's still a minefield. I don't think JD's played enough for us to really see him. I know VR's been taking reps. Guillorme's steady. We talked about last stream, Guillorme's going to be on the field a ton, so I'd expect him defensively. If we really want to go that route, he'll be either at second or third. But Albert Almora, man, he's made a few plays this spring. He's making the team. He was as advertised. And I talked about it in the Pilar video. Pilar's the opposite. Pilar's getting it at the plate. He's made a few errors in the outfield. But Almora is dazzling on the field. If we could somehow merge the two, if we could just put them in a machine and they were the same player, we'd be in really good shape. Defensively in center field, Nimmo's looked really good. Almora's looked really good. I think more the questions remain. Dom in left, which he played today, which was good to see, and JD at third. I don't think we're going to figure any of those questions out until the line of fire in the regular season. There's just no way. Spring could only tell you so much.
Going into the season, though, we still have holes at the 2 positions that we thought beforehand, third base and center field. We still don't have figured out. That's something that they have to figure out before spring training's over. It's not just about how these guys are looking, but how they fill these positions heading into the season. It's going to be difficult. I know, Tino, you talked about possibly a Chris Bryant trade, but that would probably come somewhere around the trade line. They're going into the season with the roster as it currently is. The other thing is, too, I just want to touch on, King J has asked a few times. He wants to know whose channel is this.
It's our channel. It's our channel. Yeah, King J's a great subscriber of mine. No, I joined this channel, King J. Actually, quick backstory. I did a podcast with these guys. They have a podcast, Clapback Sports. Give them a quick plug. They do a great job over there. They talk Giants, a little bit of Mets. And I went on there, got along with these guys great. We definitely think alike with the Giants. We're both, I think they're level-headed Giants fans. Found out that they're both huge Mets fans. And I know that the Mets are not like the most popular team on YouTube. And I said, hey, I would love to do a podcast with you guys, talk some Mets. And instead of doing a podcast, we decided to jump into YouTube. And, yeah, we're going to do this. I'm still going to do my Mets streams on my channel. And then we're going to funnel some people over here. We're going to do some post-game live streams, things like that. Anytime that there's anything relevant with the Mets right now, obviously kind of a dead time in terms of, real stories because it's spring training. But once the regular season gets going, we'll be doing daily videos, things like that. Going to put a lot of work into this channel. And I'm really looking forward to growing it with him, man. Two great Met fans looking to maybe going into some games with these guys and trying to build this community together. So quick backstory in case you didn't know.
Yeah,
Oh,
we got to
definitely go to
Asia.
games.
Where's Asia?
Yeah,
She's not here yet.
Asia will be here soon. I mean, she'll be here soon. We're going to be on for a little bit, so I'm sure she'll make her way over here. I do want to shout out Lloyd. Lloyd, thanks for bringing up McCann because, it feels good to see McCann behind the plate, having a catcher to throw someone out. I don't know if you saw multiple times this spring, he didn't get him out. One was a bang-bang play, but there were 2 occasions he almost threw someone out from his knees.
Yeah.
Try to throw someone out from your knees. Just attempt it. And to get it accurate enough is insane. The dude's doing it like the back of his hand. I saw it in back-to-back games. I'm ecstatic. I think
that alone is a huge. I mean, I remember last year there was a number of plays where our guy wouldn't even block the runner coming home. He'd leave the plate open. Like, he was horrible defensively. So and we talked about that too. The addition of McCann, we've upgraded huge defensively at the 2 most important defensive positions outside of center field. And that is shortstop and catcher, and that should help tremendously. I think that was a very underrated acquisition because everybody wanted, obviously the biggest catcher in the market, but I think Get McCann is going to help our team a whole lot.
He's also 5 for 13 at the plate, batting .385. So, it's not like he's a slouch at the plate. He's been doing well defensively and at the plate as well, which will help because the catches that we have had in the past haven't been able to do either, quite frankly.
When was the last time we had a consistently good defensive catcher?
I mean, I'm trying to think. It's tough. It's tough because LaDuca wasn't the best.
Piazza wasn't that good.
LaDuca would be my only thought. That was the first name that came to my mind, but
Piazza remember Piazza? It looked like it was a Gronk spike to the pitcher's mound when he was trying to throw to second base.
But seriously, honestly, and that makes outfield assists more likely too. It helps guys like Dom out, and especially Dom and Conforto out in the corners on those sack flies. I do want to shout out John. I know he always feeds the comments, but give Nimmo a chance at center. I think at this point, it's not giving Nimmo a chance at center. I think it's his position to lose. He's going to be the leadoff guy. He's going to start opening day. It's no question anymore. And honestly, I'm okay with it. I know he's been a great leadoff hitter. It's more that for me, he was just lacking the confidence and the swagger to play center the way he needed to on this team. And it seems like they kind of unlocked it and figured it out with moving him back and having him play balls coming in. And maybe that's just all he needed. Maybe that's it. But
Nimmo to me, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy.
No, go ahead. No, yeah.
Nimmo to me he's kind of like, I go back to 2015, the team that went to the World Series. Bartolo Colon was one of those glue guys, one of those guys that was great in the clubhouse, one of those guys that was infectious. That's what Nimmo is to me. Nimmo's just got that smile. He's got that. He hustles down the first base every walk. He's got that Pete Rose in him. I think he's the type of player that you need on a good baseball team. I love what he brings to this team. And I know I said I felt if given the opportunity, was going to be the breakout guy this year. I love him at the top of the order with this good lineup behind him. I could see him scoring a lot of runs. I could see him getting on base a lot. I'm really looking forward to Nimmo at the plate this year. In the field, we'll see. That's why I think we brought in Pilar and Almora. But I think he's going to have a really, really good year this year for the Mets at the plate.
At this particular point in time, I trust Nimmo over Pilar, though. And I think everyone kind of overlooked it at first with Pilar, being the defensive center fielder he was in Toronto. He has been declining, man. And he's looked sloppy at times, very uncertain. I know his errors came not in center field, but still, I still think his best asset for us is going to be at the plate. Shout out Guillorme. Shout out to Matt on this comment. I heard an interesting comment today, and this will bring us into Stroman because Stroman pitched today. I think it was DeComo. I think it was Anthony DeComo who said that he'd be very surprised if every day Marcus Stroman is out there pitching, Luis Guillorme isn't behind him in some capacity. Guillorme is arguably our best glove defensively. Stroman's a known contact pitcher, ground ball pitcher. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's just very not ironic. It's just funny that he's not the sexiest name. He's not the first person that comes to mind, but it's baseball, man. Those are wins. I don't know if it'll be at third. I know that's where he was playing. But again, Jeff can just go to third. Maybe he goes to second. It could be that easy of a flip. but I don't think they'll hesitate to do it because, Stroman's been striking people out, but he's a contact pitcher through and through. And I think for him, he's going to definitely have a say in that. If JD's struggling at third, I don't think Stroman, as outspoken as he is, will hesitate to throw Guillorme on the field or make sure Guillorme's on the field, every fifth day when he's pitching. And honestly, I don't care for it. I mean, I'm fine with it. I love Guillorme. But in terms of Stroman, he's been pitching well. He has a sub-3 ERA. He's striking some people out. Save it for the regular season. That's all I'm going to say. That's the nicest way I could put it. Save it for the regular season, please.
Yeah, you brought up Guillorme I think the first pod we did, and you said don't be surprised if he gets more starts than you think because of his glove. Obviously, J.D. Davis is a major question mark at third base, and even if he doesn't start, I could definitely see Guillorme, much like guys like Almora, being late game substitutions for defensive purposes. So I think he's definitely going to serve a role in this team. As far as Stroman goes, maybe I'm crazy. I think Stroman's going to be really good this year, and I fully admit I'm an optimistic fan. I just have a feeling Stroman's going to be really good this year. He's definitely got the talent. He pitched very well at times with the Toronto Blue Jays. He pitched okay with the Mets his first year here. Obviously, our expectations were sky high. It was a bit of a surprise of a trade when the Mets made it. Even though, I think it made sense financially because they had the ability to extend them or whatever it may be. But last year, obviously, he sat out due to COVID. I just got a feeling with Stroman this year, man. I think he's going to pitch really well for the Mets, and we're going to need him. We've got some injuries to that rotation. We're going to need him to step up and pitch to the back of his baseball card his last couple of years with the Blue Jays.
And I like that you just said that, NC's comment. I mean, and I'm there with him. I'm worried Stroman won't be good. Granted, it's a contract year, but to your point, Entertainah, we need him. We don't have a choice right now. I mean, Cookie's out. Syndergaard's not back for a little bit. I mean, hopefully Cookie's going to be okay. Yeah. Hopefully he's going to be okay. But whenever you hear elbow, it's the same thing with Lugo. I mean, Lugo was best case scenario. He's still out 4 months. Yeah. So, whenever it's a pitcher and is throwing elbow, you get hesitant about it. We need Stroman. He's now our 2, without a question. And then, the question becomes what happens behind that. But, I mean, we need Stroman to pitch to what he was advertised. Right now, more than ever, at least from April to June. After that, wait for the postseason, whatever. That 3-month window right now, because I think they're going to be very cautious with Carrasco. And they should. They should be. But we need him to step up really big.
Well, another thing, too, is that the Mets made sure that they went out and they acquired a lot of depth this offseason as well. So another name that's looked good spring training, even though he has a loss on his record, is Jordan Yamamoto. He's been pretty good. Pitched 5 innings. He's allowed 5 hits, 2 runs, no earned, though. And then Lucchesi. We still have Lucchesi as well. So there is some depth on this pitching staff where I think they can absorb some of those blows. But I think you guys are right. If this team's going to go anywhere this year, still having the holes that they kind of do defensively on offense, some of these pitchers are going to have to step up, and Stroman's going to be very instrumental in that. He's talked a really big game this offseason, talking about not wanting to go to the Yankees and everything else, and Mets are where he wants to be. But he's going to have to prove that, especially in a contract year. So,
yeah, huge year for Stroman. And the bullpen, obviously, still a major question mark.
Yeah, so Peterson breakout year, another we need that to happen. I mean, he broke out kind of last year, but – look, Lucchesi would be great. Peterson, we have Taijuan Walker who, look, I think a lot of these guys, the thing with Walker, and, I think he's going to be good. He has really nasty stuff. He throws really hard.
I actually forgot about him too.
But Walker, Yamamoto, and Lucchesi, when they get shelled like hard. They're not going to get out of 2-3 innings. When they're on, it's great. But they get roughed up early on, and I think that's going to put a lot of strain on the bullpen. And right now, guys, this is going to kill me to say, but our best bullpen pitcher is Edwin Diaz. So
if we're being, and I know he hasn't been, I know he hasn't been as good as we wanted. Diaz was pretty good last year. But yeah, our bullpen is a major question mark. I have faith Diaz could pitch pretty well this year. But like we kind of said last podcast, he's a head case. You worry about the first time he lets up a bit, a blown start. Is it going to become a habit? But Last year he pitched to, I think, an under 2 ERA, if I'm not mistaken. So I just worry about him in the closer's role because he's definitely sometimes I feel like he gets rattled.
So here's what worries me.
I can't believe that you've lost all confidence in Dellin Betances after what he's shown this spring training. I am really appalled.
So okay, wait. Table that. I just want to touch on
question for you though, Tino. For those of people that are here that don't listen to Clapback Sports, is Dellin Betances your Evan Ingram of baseball?
No, I actually that's why I think it's Edwin Diaz. Because like the thing with Evan Ingram, like the talent's there. Like Betances, he's hurt now. Like he's really rattled up. He's lost his velocity. My hope on Betances is just the fact that he's not the same player. That's why I've kind of lost all hope on him. Like he's throwing 91, 92. That's not what made Dellin Betances good. And he can locate anything, like at all. And then when his breaking ball is not there, it's a complete wash. So that's my issue with Betances. Diaz is still throwing 99.
Yeah, he still got it. He's still got it.
But he's a head case. And I want to bring up, he's pitched 2 innings. He's walked 3 guys. That's the issue with this team. Stroman got into trouble. All our pitchers, and this is just baseball in general. You can't walk leadoff hitters or leadoff batters, like especially when you're a closer. Like Diaz, I don't care his strikeouts. I don't care everything. It's the nerves he gives me. Like he'll come in and he just won't. He'll work a 3-1 count and then ball 4 won't even be close. And it's like I got to sit through 3 outs for this. I can't even find the zone. But he's been on. But he has 3 walks and 2 innings. So those are my concerns with this bullpen. We get traffic on bases and we just never really work out of it.
I just want to change the subject real quick and then we can hop back into your preview. But I mean, honestly, you mentioned not being able to locate the strike zone, and then you said a head case. Boy, are we fucking glad that we didn't get Trevor Bauer? I mean, this guy's pitching with one eye closed. What the hell is he doing? He's got to be. I'm so glad that we didn't get him. And I heard the interview with his agent, Rachel Loba. She sounds like a Jersey girl to the T. I mean, with the way she was talking, dropping F-bombs and this, that, and the other thing. I just did it live. I apologize. But, I mean, like, she was just out there. She was going ham, about his decision. We haven't been live since then, I don't believe. So talking about, he felt bad for the Mets fan, so that's it. Just tell him I'm going to the Mets. And she had to make him right and be like, no, put your shoes on, go for a walk. Why don't you see where your head's at when you come back? And he's like, yeah, I thought about it's the Dodgers. It was always the Dodgers. It was always the Dodgers. Stop with this. I want to be a Mr. Nice Guy. Just go play ball in L.A. Leave us the hell alone and stop mentioning us. I hope he pitches the rest of the season with one eye closed.
I told you guys in the group chat today if I had an ability. And the thing is, he pitched with one eye open, and then he hit the guy with one eye. He begged him. What are you doing? I wish I could hit him with a fastball. I do want to bring up New York Sports Hub. Betances can be nasty if he throws strikes. If
that's a major.
It's a big if.
No, I remember when we got Betances. That's the first thing Yankee fans told me. They're like, listen, when he's on, he's got great stuff, but he always walks the bases loaded. He's wild, and that's been as advertised. And like you said, now his stuff doesn't seem like it used to be either. He's throwing 91, 92. I'm going in weary with him. I'm going in weary with Familia. The Mets are going to need one of those 2 guys to have a surprise year. They're going to need one of those 2 guys to have a strong year. I actually have faith in Diaz. I'm not saying he's going to be the greatest reliever in baseball, but I think he's going to be good for us. I'm pretty convinced with Diaz. I think he's going to be pretty strong for us. But Betances and Familia, not so much.
Just real quick, King JX, better chance of Mets going to the World Series or winning a World Series or Giants going 10-6. King J, I'm telling you this right now, both. That's it. On to the next one.
Whoa. Wait. Maze, usually when we do these Met podcasts, I feel like you're the more grounded one, the more, I don't know if I want to use the pessimistic term with you, but you're a little more reserved in terms of your expectations for the Mets. Are you here telling me that the Mets are going to the World Series?
It was 70 degrees today in Jersey, so I could just have spring fever, Tana. But yeah, you know what? Both. That's it. I'm fully on board. I'm completely optimistic. That's it. You know what? Because MH set me off with his sarcastic comment telling me that I look pumped. Am I pumped now, MH?
Well, what I'll say is I'm a diehard Mets, Knicks, and Giants fan. I can tell you this right now, Jay, and I think I saw him earlier in the chat say that he's kind of new to baseball. He's trying to get into it. I'm going to tell you this right now. Of my 3 teams, I could confidently say the Mets have the best chance of the 3 to win a championship right now.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I could confidently say the Mets have the best chance to win a championship right now.
So I wanted to bring up, since we're asking questions, and I did see you mention Familia and a few other people mentioned Familia in the chat. Shout out to Lloyd. It was a question on SNY today, and I thought it was very interesting. If you had to pick right now out of the bullpen, say we need to bridge the gap to the 9th for Diaz. Obviously, I know Trevor May's there. Let's disregard that right now. Betances or Familia? I mean, that's hard. that's really hard.
I mean, I'd probably have more faith in Familia.
I don't know, man.
That's not saying a lot, but I mean, Tino, we talked about this. This is kind of would you rather situations, right? I mean, all you're doing is choosing the lesser 2 evils here.
I guess Familia, but Familia's another one. Familia's a guy, again, when he's on, he's filthy. He's got that splitter in the dirt. You know, when hitters chase it and it looks like a strike and he's got his mojo, he's really good. But when he's off, he's like Betances. I mean, that guy can't throw a strike. So I'm not confident with either one. I guess what I would do is I just flip a coin. And if it heads Familia, tails Betances, because I don't think I'm more confident. Who's ever pitched better at the time, I guess. Who's ever hotter more recently is who I'd feel more confident with. But right now, I don't think we have a 38th inning guy.
No, we don't. Well, Lugo would be that guy, but he's not there. I know Spencer said Lugo when healthy. Yeah, if and when. I did like Josh's comment. Josh, I have more faith in you too than any of those guys. And it's funny, when Diaz comes out, when I'm at that home opener, no one will be booing him louder. Familia, Betances, Diaz, I'm chirping him from day one. If he can't take it at the home opener, they got a long season ahead of them. I'm going to get them nice and seasoned. It's spring training for me too. So we're going to get them going. I did want to shout out MH. MH thinks you had some vodka. Is that true or false?
No. I'm just 70-degree weather and some Bud Light Platinums. That's about it. That's all it takes. I'm a very easy person. That's it. And also, too, I've also read that Tanner, people want you to reach out to Rachel Luba. They think that she should represent you.
Who?
Rachel Luba, Bauer's agent.
Oh, maybe I will. Maybe.
Somebody said, let's see if I can find it here. Let's see. Tanner should take interest in his agent. She is a looker. MH, our good friend, my good friend, MH. MH and I are going to do a live stream together.
I like MH. MH has been with me forever. One of my best subs. But he's definitely a bit of a he's a innocent troll from time to time.
I did want to talk about New York sports real quick because I'm going to defend the Jets. They're still relevant. They got the number 2 overall pick. What's more relevant than that?
Well, if you go by that, the Jets are always relevant because they're always picking in the top 5.
Yeah, that's how I used to look at the Giants picking inside the 10. We're still relevant. Our pick matters. It matters.
The Jets have money, though. I will say that. I think that the Jets finally got the hire right. That's what it is. I like Robert Saleh a lot. I think he's going to be a kind of no-nonsense head coach. And he brought over LaFleur's brother with him, too. Matt LaFleur's brother from San Francisco, who I believe was a passing game coordinator there to run the offense for the Jets. Things are going to look a lot like Shanahan's system there. So I think that the Jets are on the up and up.
A lot of Giants fans wanted Saleh 2 years ago before we ended up ultimately picking Judge. A lot of Giants fans wanted him.
Yeah, well, I did not want Pat Shurmur. I will tell you that. The Giants backed into that. I mean, all the good coaching candidates got hired, and we're like, oh, who's left? Let's look at the cupboards. Oh, Pat Shurmur. Oh, you want a job? Yeah, all right, I'll take it. Good, you're hired. Yeah, go and get James Becker, who was actually really good with Arizona. And then, I'm sorry to turn this into a Giants podcast. And then, poor Dave Gettleman, he gets all the blame for signing Kareem Martin, Olsen Pierre, Marcus Golden. Those are all pitchers guys. I mean, like, what do you think? A GM's not going to say, oh, who would you like so that this way you could run your defense? Oh, right. You want all those guys? Well, guess what? I'm not going to get any of them. I'm going to take you who I like. It makes no sense. And
not to mention the budget he was working with.
Yeah, and then it all goes on DG's record, and everybody's upset. Oh, the 2009 draft free agency class is no longer here. There were 5 signings. 4 of them were 1-year deals. Of course, they're no longer here.
That's right. Oh my God! And again, we're gonna get right back to the Mets. But I had this same conversation. I can't forget who. I forgot who it was with. But Jordan Renan came out with that tweet, and he posted. He posted Pierre. He posted Marcus Golden. He posted Antoine Bethea. He posted Golden Tate, and I forget the 5th one. Oh, Remmers.
It was Antoine Bethea. God, I'm sorry, who?
Remmers, Mike Remmers. And when he posted it, all the Giants fans, and you know how it is on Twitter. I say it all the time on Twitter. If you want to grow on Twitter, all you got to do is be anti-Giant. I hate Gettleman. I hate this guy. I hate that. You'll get thousands of retweets. You'll get thousands of likes. He posted it, and everybody went ham on it. They're like, oh, Gettleman, what are you? Gettleman sucks. Gettleman. Let's put it in context. Olsen Pierre was a nonsense contract. It was nothing. We were in the bargain bin there. It was a guy, like you said, was only going to be here for a year. Marcus Golden got his 10 sacks on a $3 million contract. Mike Remmers filled in fine for the contract that we gave him. He was a swing tackle. He performed according to the contract. Pierre, like I said with Pierre, nonsense. The only bad signing, which was understandable at the time because he fit Shermer's scheme, people forget that. Golden Tate, the first year here, actually played really well outside of the suspension. He had 6 touchdowns and like 700 yards and like 11 starts. Was Golden Tate. Outside of that, all the other contracts were fine. There was nothing to complain about. But I digress. I get heated about the Giants. You guys know that.
I left that comment that said Mays drank some vodka because I felt like as soon as he started going on the Giants tangent, I knew where it was going.
I'm telling you, for the first couple live streams, I've been very docile. But Tino, I get very animated on our podcast. This is just a glimpse. So, I'm just surprised I haven't had a heart attack on it yet. But go ahead, Tino. I'm sorry.
So, just to answer King J, definitely Sewell. The Giants are not taking a quarterback. The Jets have a very good chance of taking Sewell at second. But to the Mets here, I want to circle back. We did touch on some new guys. I did want to highlight some solid performances or at least home runs from some of the new guys. Jonathan VR, I think we're going to get a lot out of VR. Talked about how he's going to be an essential bench bat. He's a switch hitter, power hitter. Everyone's like, why do we want a power hitter off the bench who strikes out a ton? Well, you saw why. He hit a fucking moonshot to the rocks of God knows where in Florida, and that thing was gone, and that was from the left-hand side. So if you can do it from both sides of the plate, I'll take that all day long. And then we have some really good young standouts that I'm loving from this farm system. Mauricio is a stud. They have him playing everywhere. Pete Armstrong, I can't wait for him to be old enough or the Mets finally just take a shot on a young guy in the farm system to bring him up on the team. He could end up being the answer in center field in the long term. But, I'm loving some of the, small sample size plays I've seen from some of these newer faces on the team. I mean, I really do think our bench now, if you've seen any of spring training, the Mets have like 2 teams like that they have trotting out there, and they all could play. I mean, seriously, we have Peraza, who I didn't even realize we had. Malik Smith is a sneaky play who's been playing in spring. He led the MLB in stolen bases 2 years ago. There are guys on this team that are balling, and the bench is going to be really good. And I think that only strengthens our lineup and strengthens our team.
Yeah, no, like you said, the bench is, I think, a strength of this team. You have 2 good outfielders that we picked up for cheap. Villar is a really underrated acquisition. I was really happy when the Mets ended up getting him. He's a guy that you can kind of move around in the infield. Guillermo, like we said, a nice defensive, replacement or a guy that could start at times. I like our bench a lot. I actually think we have good depth. Even Dom Smith at times will probably be coming off the bench. Just based on the fact that we don't have a DH and he's not the fleet of foot out there in the outfield. So we have a really deep team and we could give it a lot of different looks. I like the lineup is not the problem for the Mets, and maybe defensively at third base with a guy like JD Davis, but it's the pitching, but the lineup and the bench, I love what we got.
Speaking of Dom Smith, there's one video I saw when the game was on ESPN, and I know this is a bit of an old interview, but seeing that Dom Smith's swing lines up perfectly with Barry Bonds is insane. I mean, they had clip after clip of him next to Barry Bonds. He interviewed Barry Bonds. And to be compared and to have Barry Bonds tell you you're mimicking kind of like his play style and his approach at the plate. I mean, to me, steroids aside, man, Barry Bonds was the greatest hitter I've ever seen. So pretty elite company.
Wow, you did.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I saw Bonds. I started getting into baseball around 93, 94. I remember briefly when he was with the Pirates, and Bonds was always great. Great eye at the plate, great all-around player. Pre-steroids, I can't say he's the greatest hitter I've ever seen. Now, granted,
I would agree with Tino.
Really, I'm going to give you some hitters. Tony Gwynn.
Okay.
Let me put it this way: best all-around baseball.
How about Albert Pujols pre-steroids?
Pujols was incredible.
How about Miguel Cabrera? How about
Miguel Cabrera? No, like I know the Triple Crown means something, but like the walks and his just approach, the demeanor of him just coming to the plate. I mean, I've never seen, and it was a respect from all across baseball. I'm waiting for Trout to get this treatment where you have the game on the line, runners in scoring position, and you're like, I'd rather walk in one run or let this guy hit and possibly bring in every run on this fucking field. Like, and I get it. That was a lot, and a lot of what I saw of him was during steroids. But the walks were insane.
Steroids are untouchable. Steroids era Bonds is untouchable.
People forget about the stolen bases with Barry Bonds.
40-40.
I mean, Barry Bonds was unbelievable prior to the steroids. I mean, I think he was a Hall of Famer. I don't know why he would have taken the steroids.
To be immortal. That's why, to be immortal.
Increase, right. But aside from that, though, the one thing the steroids or PEDs don't do is it doesn't help you make better contact with the ball. Tino, I do want to highlight one thing, though, before we go further, because Frozo Chen asked, and this was a point I wanted to bring up. He said, if we do extend the Lindor, where do you think Ronnie Mauricio is going to play? One, I wanted to bring this up. I just didn't want to interrupt your flow. Mets have started talking to Francisco Lindor about an extension. So that is good news, definitely. And two, I think Mauricio will go to third base. I think we still have the hole there. I think that he can play it. So I know that he came up through a system kind of as a shortstop. The Mets were loaded. They had Rosario. They had I forget who we just traded.
Jimenez.
Yeah, Jimenez and Mauricio. So, but I think he can also play third base, though. So,
well, to that point too, I heard Tim Kirchin talking about this, and he's an old timer, but he said this is a hypothetical, but he's like, if I could do an MLB draft every year for a team, I'd draft all shortstops. Shortstops are the best athletes on the field. A-Rod, infamous, amazing third baseman, started as a shortstop, won an MVP as a shortstop, was able to transition. They obviously got to get bigger and get better at the position, but see Mauricio being as athletic as he is, I don't think is an issue at all. You know, they're definitely whispering in his ear right now. He's going to get reps at third. So I wouldn't harp on that too much. I do want to hear a few other people's, best hitters. Barry Bonds, Trout, Griffey. I loved Griffey. Don't get me wrong. I love Ken Griffey Jr. I mean,
Griffey had a beautiful swing.
Yeah, like
prettiest swing ever. Prettiest swing
exactly.
ever. Jr. Yeah,
sexy. It was a sexy
I'm gonna tell you a hitter nobody named though. When I was growing up, we're just talking pure hitter. Mid 90s to like 2000. What about Frank Thomas?
Oh yeah, the big hurt was crazy.
Yeah.
He had some 6 seasons.
That guy could hit. That guy could rake. He'd be up there for me, Frank Thomas.
Yeah, I'm trying because it's a
tough
question.
You know what? Injuries. I think we talked about him a bit last time. I think after the pod. How about Moises Alou? That guy was a damn good hitter. Vladimir Guerrero, damn good hitter.
Vlad. I was gonna mention Vlad.
Yeah.
See, but it's a tough question because it's like, are you looking at contact, or you gotta look at it as an overall body of work? See, that's
Ichiro.
Yeah. Now, just throwing it out there. I didn't see him play. Pete Rose. Little Pete Rose action. I actually was about to get a ball that was signed by Pete Rose that said, "I gambled on baseball." It was just inscribed that says,
I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
I want it so bad. I haven't found it again. I'm waiting for it to be at the right price. No Ryan Howard talk. I'm sorry. Jimmy Rollins. If you want to talk about Jimmy Rollins, who might make the Hall of Fame next year for his ballot, could maybe.
I actually think, and I hate to say this because I can't stand the guy, of that trio there. Their best player when he was at his best, I thought was Chase Utley. Couldn't stand him. Pat Burrell killed us too. But Chase Utley, during that 3 or 4 year stretch when they were like at their best, I thought Utley was their best player.
I mean, it's hard. I grew up in an era where there was so many good baseball players. I mean, you had Cal Ripken, Craig Biggio, Fred McGriff. I mean, there were just so many players on every team.
Albert Bell.
Albert Bell. There was just so many players. It's like talking about the NBA in the 80s and 90s, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Clyde the Glide, Hakeem the Dream, Patrick Ewing, Mark Price. Like, everybody had at least one superstar on the team.
Yeah.
And now it's like the NBA's been condensed to like 4 teams.
You want to know what I'm thinking of? This is a random good season because you mentioned Miggy Cabrera, and I was like, Triple Crown. I was like, there was one other person I remember at a young age. Carlos Gonzalez, Derek Lee. Do you remember Derek Lee had one season on the Cubs? He was just tearing it the fuck up.
I'm gonna give you another name that nobody mentioned. I'm surprised. And granted, Colorado helps. Larry Walker.
Larry Walker
was a damn good hitter, and so was Garcia Parrott.
I remember he didn't make the Hall of Fame. He was another snub.
Yeah, I think because of Coors Field, that's the only thing that makes sense. And no Mark Brewer, by the way.
They said Todd Helton isn't going to make it for the same reason. That's such a bullshit excuse.
Yeah.
Look, Arenado's trajectory. I mean, that's a fair question. Do you think maybe he leaves Colorado knowing that? I mean, the dude's a Diamond Glove winner, Platinum Glove winner at third base, has all his numbers. If he retires a Rocky, are people going to not let Arenado into the Hall of Fame? I mean, that's kind of how they're treating, Walker and Helton. I think I don't know.
It's funny to me though. It's funny to me though how in baseball they take that into account, like with the statistics. But in football, they don't give a shit. Oh, Peyton Manning played in the dome. We don't care. We don't. Dan Marino played in sunny. There's factors in all sports when it comes to weather. But for some reason in baseball, they take that into account with home runs and things like that.
We talked about this with the point that you brought up. Baseball tends to have the most pretentious group.
They do.
Especially amongst its writers. If we think football writers are awful, forget it. Baseball writers are even worse. I mean, they think that they are the Mecca. And the fact that they play guardians to the Hall of Fame is ridiculous. I mean, it's really dumb. It really is.
So shout out to Ray West.
Luis Gonzalez was another one.
Steroids, though. Definitely
big time steroids.
Yeah, but he did challenge him with the.
That was crazy. We spent time after the last stream looking at Luis Gonzalez's numbers, actually. And we were like, yeah, let me just look at the track. And then that year.
Brady Anderson, too, is another one, obviously.
Yep. Yeah, Brady Anderson. Well, shout out to Ray West. He's been commenting. He's, a fan favorite, at least on this show.
How about awesome, Jeter? Yeah.
Love Jeter. I also was laughing to myself. He said Pete Rose pinch hit for himself while he was manager. Give him a Hall of Fame nomination. I agree. I think he bet on himself. Like, I don't know what the issue is. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to. Boxers do it all the time. That's my point. Well, boxers do it all the time.
I get it. I do get that as a manager, you shouldn't be betting on your team while you're playing because it does influence the way you manage the game. Are you now pitching a guy out of the bullpen? You shouldn't be pitching. You're risking injury and things like that to make sure you win your money. So I do understand that is wrong. There's no doubt about it. But Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, the guy's the most hits in the history of baseball. The guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, I wish Dave Gettleman would bet on the Giants. Maybe we might have a better roster, or maybe it might lead to more wins. So I have no problem. Let Pete Rose in.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about the Giants and Super Bowl aspirations, the World Series aspirations, there is an elephant in the room, and I saved it for the end of the show to really talk about it. And I don't know if this is the end. We'll probably go on a tangent about it, but I'm just going to preference this by saying this. When I was in high school, this is something we did often. You visualize winning the championship. Everyone has a different way of going about it. You don't always throw the gloves, but you walk through it. When I played basketball, you picture you're at the free throw line, down one with pressure on the line. You build it into you so you can develop the ice in the veins. The Mets are taking some grief. The Mets are taking some grief. People think we're shooting our load a little too early for fake celebrating the World Series in spring training. I personally have no problem with it, but I would love to hear the two of your takes on what you think of the whole video and the whole situation as a whole.
I thought it was great. I don't care. I like it. If you want to be a champion, you better act like it. So I don't care. I like the swagger. I like that they're showing some confidence. I thought that it was fun. And it got me excited. I mean, it got me excited as a Mets fan. And I think it's going to be a super fun year. I think we're going to have a really good team. And yeah, I don't care. I know some people are going to look at that don't like the Mets and they're going to scoff at it. It's not really a big deal. I liked it. I was a fan.
For me, I mean, if you played sports, right? I mean, they've talked about that. If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good, right? It's about kind of instilling that winning culture, kind of get a feel or taste for what it would be like to win that. And, you kind of, even though it's a fake celebration, I mean, you saw them. They all gathered, in the infield. They were all piling on one another. It's a feeling, and you always have that when you're out there in that game. And it's always in the back of your mind that, hey, this is what I'm playing for. This is the goal. This is the aspiration for the season. I loved it. I don't think there's absolutely anything wrong with it.
Yeah, and so, I recently had watched, what was it, the 4 days of in Flushing. It's the whole Wilmer Flores when the Mets made it to the World Series. SNY did it. 5 nights of Flushing, whatever it may be. But I heard Gary and Keith and Ron all speaking on it, and especially Ron and Keith. Whenever I hear them just kind of compare it to 86, baseball is a business. So guys are there, especially in spring training, fighting for jobs. These are grown men going after other people's jobs, playing time, contracts, money. Yeah. And if you put all that selfishness aside and play for each other and be happy to play 162 games with each other and feed off each other and build that camaraderie, I mean, there is no money that Steve Cohen can put out there that can buy that. That's just organic. That's natural. And I'm here for that every step of the way. That's why I love the Mets, because the Mets just organically always get these feels about them with these teams. And we still got a lot of the guys from that last World Series run that'll hold it down. But seeing some of these new guys buy in and the young guys, I mean, it gets me excited. That's what gets me excited.
You were onto something. You started your sentence with, you gotta, then you didn't finish it.
Believe? Ray West said it.
That's it. You gotta believe. You gotta believe.
Baseball more than any other sport, guys, in my opinion. Chemistry is paramount. It is so important. Team chemistry, more so than any other sport. It's 162 games. It's a grind. You got to like playing for each other. You got to buy in. And the Wilmer Flores thing is a perfect thing to bring up when pertaining to this subject. Whenever I watch that, what is it called again? 5 nights in Flushing, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I've watched that on YouTube now like 10 times. And every time I watch that documentary, I get goosebumps. And the defining moment of that season, yeah, you could talk about the acquisition of Cespedes, which was unbelievable. You could talk about Curtis Granderson, who was kind of our consistent guy in that lineup that entire year. But the defining moment of that season, and it was complete luck, it was a fluke because we wanted to trade Flores. We didn't end up trading him. But the defining moment of that season, because before that moment, we were a 500 team. We were a team that we weren't quite sure whether or not we should be buyers or sellers at the deadline. We hadn't been to the playoffs in quite some time. And then, we took off and ran with it. But the defining moment of that season, which brought team chemistry together, was Wilmer Flores breaking down and bowling and crying. And it showed you how much he wanted to play for this organization. And as a fan, I think fans just fell in love with him after that moment. I think it brought the team together. And then the very next game, I think it was, he goes out there, he hits the game-winning home run, and the Mets don't look back after that. They go on an unforeseen run. But team chemistry in baseball is so much more important than any other sport. And that's my honest belief.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it on the head. I truly feel that way. And all I'm thinking about now is I was lucky enough. I saw one Wilmer walk off while he was with the Mets. It was the year after the World Series. Yeah, a year after. It was Mets-Phillies. DeGrom pitched 7 innings, gave up no runs. We went to extras 1-1. We gave up a run, of course, in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. And Wilmer hit a walk-off single, I think, in like the 13th. It was a very slow, boring baseball game. But I got to see Wilmer in action. But you're right. I mean, and you can't make that up. That's the you got to believe magic in the air. The fact that he hits the home run, you can't even make it up. Even 2 years ago, when the Mets were going on that run in Pete's rookie year, just with the Nats and everything, that national series, I mean, I don't know if anyone was in the chat that was at that game, but I was at a few of those games, especially during that series. I saw Luis Guillorme hit that go-ahead home run. I mean, that was a game Todd Frazier we lit up Doolittle in the 9th, and we came back, and Conforto hit the game winner, and people were showing nipples, and it was great. It's crazy how fun it is to be a part of it. Like, as much as we struggle as Met fans, like, to just like, hold strong because it gets dark sometimes. Those are the moments that I always look back on. I'm just like, holy shit. Because I watch every game, and those are the ones you don't forget the feeling you had of just like, you literally just believe the whole way. You're like, we're down 3. We got this.
Baseball almost becomes like a family. Like I say it all the time. You almost feel like Ron and Gary and Keith are a part of your family. And there's defining moments. Like I think back to the good Mets team since I've been watching. There's defining moments where you're like, oh, yeah, that's when you started to see the chemistry. Bartolo Colon was a big part of that chemistry as well. I go back to 2006, Jose Reyes, all the handshakes, and they just love playing with each other. 99, Ventura during the Subway, or 2000 maybe it was a regular season Subway Series game, but you saw him come out with the fake Piazza mustache. He wore the 31. He goes sliding headfirst on the tarp with all the rain on the field. It's things like that, and yeah, maybe people overlook that and they feel like it's not a big part of winning, but it is, especially in baseball. Maybe not so much in basketball and football, but in baseball, it's a grind. You're living with these people for half the year, and I think it's a major part of a successful baseball team, and you'll love to see it early on in spring training. I think this team, you could tell they like playing with each other, and that's important.
Yeah, the 2019 was great. Yeah, we didn't make the postseason, but man, they gave us a lot to be excited about. We do have the best booth in baseball, and that's not an argument. That's like debating Jacob deGrom. It's not even close with that, except when Todd Zeal's in there. He was in there today. Then it's not the best booth in baseball. Then it's like bottom 10. Vets are important in baseball more than any other sport as well. I think that one is kind of where, well, also, Bartolo Colon's releasing a cigar, which I will be purchasing at some point. I follow him on Insta. He promoted it today. I just wanted to throw that out there. That's random, but Bartolo Colon hitting home runs in the woods in men's softball games, also producing cigars. I will be getting one, and I'll get everyone one. And if someone wants one in the chat, you just let me know. And if I see you at a game, I'll have one ready to go. Vets are important, but I think sparingly. Like with the team we have now, I think it was more veteran bench bats that were like essential. And I guess when you think about it though, like Lindor is a vet, but he's young enough that like it's hard for me to label him as a vet. Like I look at vets, it's such a loose term. Like, okay, that team that made the World Series, the vets on that team were like Juan Uribe, Michael Kadire. Those are vets. Like those are guys that
Kelly Johnson.
Yeah, like a good player who still got like he's in his prime. Like he's not a veteran. He's experienced, and I guess that would be that's a nice way to put a veteran. But like when I think of vets, I think of those older guys that like really just show the young guys what it is to be a pro. I don't think this team's at that point anymore. Like I don't think we need vets. We needed like veteran bats off the bench that are gonna that have been there before, that'll come up clutch. Like that's where we need the veterans. We need guys who have been in situations before with different teams that have seen some counts and seen some teams and pitchers that will be ready to go. But yeah, I mean, Big Sexy is probably the most beloved Met ever. Arguably.
I loved him, man. And he I'll tell you what, man, you want to talk about a signing when the Mets made it. You're talking about a fan base at the time that's like craving for them, because at the time we were still going through the the recovery from the Madoff scheme, and they haven't signed anybody. They went out there, they signed Granderson, which I was like about because he was older. Ended up being a really good signing. He was a big part of that team that went to the World Series. Colon is one of the most underrated signings in Met history, in my opinion, or at least since I've been watching the team. And when they made it, I was like, what the hell are you doing? This guy's like 38 at the time, 39, maybe whatever he was. And he had just recovered. I think he got popped for steroids, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm like, what are you doing? But that ended up being such a great signing, not just for his production on the field, where he was good. The guy was an innings eater. Yeah, when he got shelled, but he was consistent for the Mets. He went out there and he produced for what he did. But you want to talk about a glue guy. There was nobody more important to that team in terms of a glue guy than Bartolo Colon. He brought that team together.
I just want to shout out Danny Thomas. Shout out. What's up, man? How's it going? I know you wanted to get a what's up. What's up, DT? Speaking of Colon, too, here's the thing that always staples into my head, that in 2017, we still had him on the team, and he hadn't been pitching most of the year. We were so desperate for pitching help Noah started the play-in game against the Giants, and Cologne was warming up in the bullpen. I don't remember if he actually pitched, but Cologne was like 40 at the time, becoming an arm in the pen because we needed him.
Yeah.
And it was just like, whoa. You know what I mean? It was an all-hands-on-deck moment, and I also want to circle back, though. Speaking of the bullpen, someone asked about Gesellman a long time ago. It might have been Ray West. I did want to bring that up.
I was just going to say that. My favorite bullpen moment is probably Gesellman, karate chopping his thighs as he kicked them down. So I'm glad that you brought that point up, though, in terms of Gesellman. I did see that earlier, so they want to know whether or not Gesellman actually makes the team. And,
I think he will.
I think so too. Gesellman is a guy that's good enough to play as that fifth pitcher if you really need him to, and he can do some long relief out of the bullpen. So I think that Gesellman's pretty safe with this team.
I know a few of you guys were asking about Loop as well. We were also talking about Castro. I think Castro, if he could work his way into this rotation and come up in spots, maybe he takes over a bigger role. I think everything's pretty much solidified in the back end. Really, though, the reason Gesellman will make this team is just an innings eater. I mean, as good as he can be, I mean, he hasn't been consistent enough to do it time in and time out. So I think to start the year, especially if Cookie's not ready, we need guys that are going to eat innings.
Yeah.
Entertainah's out, but it's okay. I know where he was going with it. Not really, because he spoke 2 words.
What did you do to
him? Nothing. He got scared away. He got scared away because Josh started mentioning the Wilpon way, and then whenever the Wilpons get brought into anything, nothing good comes from it. Here he is. He's back. He's back. He's very good.
That's what happened there.
Tino has a theory. Somebody mentioned the Wilpons, and then that was it. You were gone.
No, but I'm in complete agreement. The last thing I heard about Tino was talking about Gesellman. I think he has to be here. I think he's going to be an innings eater. I think he's a long man. And yeah, he has the ability to step in a pinch and be a starter for you, an emergency starter. So yeah, I think he'll definitely be here.
Yeah. So I mean, look, we touched on a lot. We already mentioned Bauer. Really going into the rest of spring training, some things I think I'm looking to see is another start from Lucchesi. They're saying there's a competition between him and Peterson for the last spot. I think they're saying that right now. Mainly because they're still accounting for Cookie to pitch, but really the thing is Walker, even if Walker doesn't pitch well, it's a money thing. They're paying him $10 million for the next 2 years. He's going to be in the rotation. Peterson, Lucchesi, they're low cost guys. That's just the way it is. It seems like that's kind of how they're basing this rotation right now. I don't think that's the best way to go about it because they think Walker at times may not be a better pitcher than Peterson. That's I understand. Everyone settle down. No, I know that a lot of people are high on Walker, and I think he could be great. But when he gets hit hard. So, but still, I'm looking at
insurance policies because you don't know what's going to happen next offseason as well with this pitching staff. It doesn't hurt to have some of these guys under control next year. So,
yeah, but so without Cookie though, it's DeGrom, Stroman, and then really, it's whoever. It's anyone's guess. I mean, really, it's you put in Walker at the 3, I guess. And then really, what are you looking at?
Peterson, Lucchesi.
Peterson, Yamamoto for the last 2 spots. So
I'd like to see Peterson get in there. I think Peterson could do a good job. We'll see. In baseball, they say it a lot for hitters. It's for pitchers too. Sophomore slumps. Hitters get the book on you. You know what you're coming with. He's got a really good curveball though. I like Peterson. I thought he performed pretty well for the Mets last year when given the opportunity. I'd like to at least see him get the opportunity to start the year in that rotation.
Yeah, I would too. And I don't think I really need to see much more from him in order to do that. In regards to everything else, I'd love to see JD Davis on the field a little bit more. He's played 5 games, probably the least amount out of anyone who will really be starting. So I'd like to see him play a little bit more. Nimmo, I've kind of seen what I've needed to see out of Nimmo. I've seen enough from him. Even with Pete, I know they're going to keep Pete out there and keep him hot and keep that mojo. But I've seen enough from this offense. I think almost I just want one day with the full go. I want to see what their starting lineup is. We've gotten snippets of it, but I want to see Rojas' starting lineup and batting order. I really still can't put a finger on it. Like it could go a few ways. It really can.
And they could change it. They could
great.
change it though, game to game. I think they'll change it.
Like Conforto's an ebb and flow hitter. He's been a lot more polished last year, but if he's slumping, they're not going to keep him at the 3. So like, I have no like. A lot of people don't look at Jeff McNeil as a 3-hole hitter. I can see him anywhere. Like I really have no problem with Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, and then the big bats after with Pete, Dom, and
I don't mind that. I don't. I mean, I think it's it's dependent on how Conforto's playing. I thought Conforto showed a lot of growth last year, and it was a short sample size, but and he's been streaky his entire career. So I'm not saying I'm fully on board that he's completely turned that corner, but I've always been a big. You want to talk about a guy with a pretty swing? We were talking about Griffey. Conforto swings pretty damn pretty. But I've always said, Conforto when he's at his best, he's going opposite field. And last year, you really saw him make a concerted effort to drive that ball to opposite field. A lot of doubles because of it. I'm hoping he turned the corner. I think he did. I think Conforto's in for a big year this year. But, it's nice to have the freedom to have such a good lineup that if Conforto was slumping, you could pop him down to that 6 spot, put McNeil in the 3. I have no problems with that.
Well, that's the whole thing. I think this roster and this lineup is going to be fluid all season. That's the good thing about having so much depth is that you can play different lineups. You're talking about versus righties versus lefties. You may switch up who leads off every now and then as well. There's going to be a lot of different lineups that we see this all year long, especially with the outfield. How many outfielders we have? How many times does Dom play for Pete? How many times is Dom in the outfield? Who comes off the field? There's going to be a lot of rotations. That's one of the good things about having depth. I think it's going to be able to keep the Mets healthy, and it's going to also keep them fresh as well.
I think that's such a good question for the regular season. How often will Dom play for Pete? I'll be honest. I don't see it much. Without a DH, man, and with how this team is constructed, I just don't see a way. I think they're starting Dom and left. They're going with it. Like that's just what it is. I think the more likely scenario is JD loses a spot at third base than Dom loses a spot in left field. Like, I mean, obviously because of Dom's hitting, it'll be hard to take him off the field. But we have so many expendable like infielders to rotate there. We already talked about Guillorme. We already, touched on VR, who plays all 3 infield positions, like aside from first base. Maybe, on Pete's off day, you'll see Dom play, but he's staying in left. I think it's no doubt Dom, Nimmo.
So do you think Jose Martinez then steps in for Pete?
Martinez got hurt. He's out. And that frees up spots on the bench now too. Yeah, so no Jose Martinez either. So yeah, I think the team's starting to really come together. And I do like though that they constructed the bench the way they did. We talked about it in the video when we talk about the on the live stream and in my video about the bench, but everyone has a job. And I think that's big. I mean, it's well thought out. We have our defensive rotational guys. We got big time hitters. We got Tomas Nido. We got a backup catcher. So we pretty much have an answer to everything. And you're right. I think we have a top 5 offense, Ray West. It's just the pitching guys. I think that's
we're talking about JD Davis, and I know his glove's not great, but we're talking about him like he's almost a liability. That's how good our offense is. I mean, JD Davis is good enough to be a cleanup hitter in some lineups. I mean, he was really good for the Mets in 2019. So, who knows what's going to happen with him? He may be hitting so good that you can't take him out of lineup. We've seen that guy be hot for months. You don't know. I mean, he could be a really good hitter, JD Davis. So I just think we have too many good hitters in this lineup where we're going to go on like previous Mets teams you'd see where they'd go weeks where they'd score 1-2 runs and they'd struggle to get wins for DeGrom even though we pitch a shutout. I just think we have too many talented hitters in this lineup where we're going to go through slumps for a period of time. The question is, when DeGrom's not pitching, are we going to have a good enough rotation and bullpen where we don't have to score 7 or 8 runs to be winning baseball games on a consistent basis?
If you saw the stat line for DeGrom's outing, the Mets won 1-0. The entire pitching staff had 17 strikeouts. I think they only gave up a handful of hits. We won 1-0 though on a Pete home run. So it's like the pitching staff supported him, but of course DeGrom did what he did, and he's still, regardless of his spring training or the World Series or the playoffs or regular season, 1-0. It'll never change. Like I'm not holding my breath. They're not gonna score for Jake, and neither is Jacob. Neither is Jacob DeGrom. There is no way DeGrom is not battle tested for this. Of just like he's ready to only get 2 runs. That's why his ERA. I think that's why he's become such a good pitcher. He has to do what he does if he wants to be credited. Because if not, he'd probably have 20 losses with the run support that they give him. Seriously, it's insane.
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 The fact that what did he go 11-10 or something like that? The year he won the Cy Young. The fact that he went 11-10 that year is still one of the craziest things I've ever seen in the history of baseball. He threw like a 170 ERA and he had 10 losses. It's insane.
Yeah. Someone did ask too if I thought Stroman would have under a 3. I think based on like your expectation of him, I mean that's what you'd imagine. He'd probably be under a 3. It's like he's going to be in Cy Young candidacy. He'd probably have to be.
I'll say, I don't know if he's going to be Cy Young candidacy, but my expectations of him going in is 3-2, low 3s, 3-2, 3-1, 3-3 in that area.
Would be ideal.
Yeah, I'll take a 3-2 ERA. That's what I want from Stroman this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to say 2.9, but 3. Give me a 3-2. Give me a 3-2.
The real problem we see with this team is the relief. Yeah, man. Outside of Diaz, and that's crazy to say. Honestly, I talk more shit on Edwin Diaz than anybody in the game. But truthfully, man, if we don't have him, working the back end of the game, like say he does get the yips and he just falls out from the bottom falls out from him, I don't even want to watch a Mets game after the 7th inning. It's just not going to be pretty. Seriously,
how long is Lugo out for?
I mean, it depends. They said 4 months, 3-4 months. I mean, probably June. Probably.
I think the Mets are gonna have to make an acquisition, possibly before the trade deadline.
And whenever I hear June, like even with Syndergaard and being a Mets fan, and it's out here, we got to stay healthy. That's the old Mets mantra too. We used to just get hurt right out the gates all the time. And I'd almost prefer we get it out of the way in spring training so we can map out the season. But I'm accounting All-Star break. Most of the time, whenever it says June, you just roll those 2 weeks over, mid-July, and they're back. With pitching, you really don't want to rush them back. And these guys, Cookie's got an elbow issue. Lugo's got an elbow issue. Don't bring him back if it ain't ready. Don't bring him back.
Yeah, I'm with you in that. Lloyd said movie time with the lady later, guys. Hopefully you check out one of the movies we were talking about last time, Lloyd.
Yeah.
But have a good time with the lady, my man. Lloyd's awesome though, man. Lloyd actually lives in Mexico. He tunes in all my streams. He's been on my channel before. He's awesome. Have a good one, Lloyd.
Yeah, somebody else said before too when you left that you left because you got a call from Bauer's agent, Rachel Luba. So yeah,
I gotta take a look at her. Is she that good looking?
She is. She's nice. Hair. Yeah, she has hella fire hair. Like she belongs in like probably an episode of Game of Thrones.
Okay,
I can see that.
Yeah. So what were they called up the north? The Wild or something like that.
The Wildlings. Yeah, the Wildlings.
Yeah, she'd be one of the
redwood hair. She kind of has the redwood hair.
So, and speaking of movies, I did watch The Other Guys. So,
the movie's great, isn't it?
So I did watch that based on the conversation last time. So I did see that. So he shot Derek Jeter. Should have shot A-Rod.
Will Ferrell's hysterical in that movie, but my favorite side character is Michael Keaton. He's hysterical in that movie.
Yeah.
With the whole Bed Bath and Beyond, and I thought he was hysterical in that movie.
But one of the best side characters of Will Ferrell that doesn't get talked about is Gator. Gator's amazing. Like it's such a small part of that movie.
Yeah.
So you were a pimp. I was not a pimp. Are you not listening to the story? Like, how are you getting that from this?
That movie's great.
We talked about a ton of movies last week. We don't have much to talk about anymore. But I don't want the people of this channel to be discouraged because we will not take another 2-week hiatus, or at least we will try not to.
No, we will
We've
not.
all been pretty busy.
Yeah.
We've all been pretty busy. So it's all getting together right now. There's been Giant stuff going on. We got other stuff going on. But it's all getting settled. Baseball's around the corner, so we will definitely be doing more things like this at least once a week. I'll be posting those videos at least once a week again, and stay on that grind with anything, newsworthy to talk about, especially if we get any update on Cookie, if he's out, if he's not out. So that's probably the next video, but we're going to stick to this, guys. I'm going to hold you both to it.
Oh, in season, man. Make no mistake about it. As long as it permits your schedule, I will be on this channel, and I will be on this channel doing post games daily. So, as often as we can do it together, I want to do post games with you guys, weekly recaps, things like that. That we're gonna get this channel up and running. We're gonna get this thing moving and grooving. I can't wait.
I love it. I feel like, by the way, Mage, and this is just a random way to end it. We ended the show last time with this clap back or get smacked back. I don't know if that's got to be like a t-shirt slogan or something. I mean, we might have to include MH on it, but it kind of rings.
Did MH provide us with that tagline last time?
I think so. Yeah. I don't have that great of a
clap back or get smacked back.
Yeah, I think get smacked. I don't think you have to put the back. I think clap back or get smacked.
Real quick. What do you guys think is ultimately going to happen here? Because obviously they're talking about your Giants pod, and obviously there's a couple of Giants listeners in here. What do you think we're going to end up with in free agency ultimately?
Ooh, well, hey, this is a great time to plug the Clapback Sports Podcast. If you haven't listened, go check it out. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, Anchor, anywhere you can find a podcast, because that's a great question, Tana. We talked about that. And I actually brought this up. And if for anybody that doesn't follow me on Twitter at @TheMage_NFL. Tino at Tino Rodriguez, __ at the end, because I posted the other day what a great trade option N'Keal Harry would be, wouldn't he? You know what? You trade for him, guess what? And one of our friends on Twitter, CLTNY, corrected me, because if the Patriots trade him, they actually pay the bonus money. So Giants would only be paying him $3.2 million over the next 2 years for a 6'4", 225-pound wide receiver, which is what the Giants need. You're paying him $3.2 million over the next 2 years. It doesn't take you out of the running for anything. You can still draft Jalen Waddle. You can still draft Kyle Pitts if you wanted to. It's cheap labor at the wide receiver position, something that the Giants need. I am not opposed to it at all. And nobody knows him better than Joe Judge. Joe Judge was his wide receiver.
He was his wide receivers coach. And I talked about that too. I did a dual video yesterday, Nate Solder and the rumors about N'Keal Harry. And I'm with you. If the price is right, and I'm not giving away any, huge draft capital for it.
I would do a 2022 pick.
What would you do?
2022.
What pick?
I would give him a fourth.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. Yeah.
Because we're going to get a couple comp picks next year. I think we're looking at maybe 2 comp picks, not a whole lot, especially if DT walks. Kyler Fackrell might net us a comp pick, and there's one other player that I can't think of right now. So a future
Wayne
pick.
Gallman, maybe potentially Wayne Gallman.
Yes, Wayne Gallman was the other one. You're correct. But we're not in the business of giving away draft picks this year. We only have 6 of them.
Right. So you give a future fourth. Yeah, I talked about it in one of my videos. Giants fans did not seem receptive to it, but you know as well as I do, Giants fans, they're just completely focused on right now Kenny Golladay, and that's it. They don't want to hear about any other wide receiver. They don't want to hear about it. They're like, it's Golladay or it's bust. I don't want another wide receiver. But N'Keal Harry is out of the box thinking. You're not paying a premium. You're not paying him anything. And he's clearly a guy that has upside. You're not bringing him in here to be your number one. You're bringing him in here to be a guy that has upside. And if he works out, could be a really good number 2 for you. I don't think we would ever have aspirations of him being a 1. He fits the system. I don't see the harm if it's a really cheap deal and bringing a guy like that in, especially with ties to Judge. So you would think the Judge would be completely on board with it. So I'm with you.
I think that's why we get along so well. I know you said that we're grounded Giants fans. A lot of times, it depends on who you talk to. They wouldn't think so. But when I look at things, I want to look at something from an observational standpoint of the franchise. What makes the most sense? What is the most likely, right? Right now, the Giants are about $3.2 million under the cap.
Right.
You're not getting to $17 million. I mean,
unless you extend Leo and cut Sol, but then you're backloading and that's the other thing I always hear all the time is, Why aren't the Giants backloading all these salaries? And let me start with this, guys, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this real quick. I am not against backloading salaries when it's appropriate. The New York Giants are not at the appropriate point in time to start taking shortcuts. We don't even know if we have our franchise quarterback yet. If you start backloading salaries, well, then you got to pay Daniel Jones in a year or two $40 million a year if he works out to be your quarterback. You got to pay Saquon Barkley. So until we get our team situated and we get this core on their contracts, once you pay your quarterback, that's when you start backloading salaries to make up for the difference that you're paying Daniel Jones. We're not at that point yet. Teams that are backloading are Super Bowl contenders. That's the appropriate time to do that. Yeah. We are not Super Bowl contenders.
I think you commented on my tweet today about that. Giants Insider had put something out, and I commented with everything you pretty much just said. Teams that are backloading contracts right now are kicking the can because their window is open.
Right.
The Giants aren't there yet. We are in a very healthy cap situation next year. We're in a very healthy cap situation the year after. I mean, the part that sucks the most. I saw it because somebody said, Ray West actually said, you got to give DJ all the weapons. I don't know if we can afford to. And it sucks because this comes back to when we had Eli on the downside of his career. Couldn't protect him. Couldn't give him any weapons or anything to that nature. I mean, somebody said that this reeks of 2016, was it, all over again? So, yeah. I mean, you put all this money into the defense and you don't have an offense. And it's just like, I don't understand. But at the same time, like I said, I like to look at things from a realistic or a franchise point of view. And I don't know where you're coming up with the other $14 million to sign Golladay, $17 million at a minimum. Aside from that, you still need money for your rookie pool. Yep. You need another $10 million for that. So
and you need to replace Zeitler.
Well, they could do that internally. One of the things we talked about on the podcast, and I said this on the 31st of when we signed them, I think Harrison is our starting center.
You really think that?
I think Harrison was our starting center. And I said at the time, the reason why I said that thought, if I am looking to trim fat and I'm looking to trim it quickly, Kevin Zeitler is the best way to go about that. They cut him. So now what do? You take Nick Gates and you move Nick Gates to right guard, where he did play really well. So now my question is, you had Shane Lemieux last year, who was horrible in pass protection, Will Hernandez, who's not good in pass protection, and both good run blockers. Would you rather have Nick Gates fill in for Kevin Zeitler, which isn't much of a downgrade, and then have Harrison fill in for Gates, which isn't much of a downgrade there either? Or would you rather start Lemieux at right guard, Danny's going to get freaking killed, and have Nick Gates at center? The other
I'd rather sign a guard. I'd rather sign a guard.
Oh, you have no money.
I think there's ways to get enough money to be able to make small signings. I don't think Galladay's in the budget, but I think there's going to be so many free agents out there that teams aren't going to be able to pay all of them. It's going to be supply and demand, and I think there's going to be a lot of scenarios like Logan Ryan, even more so this year, times like 10, where guys have to wait it out, and they're not going to get near their initial price.
But I get that, but where are the Giants getting the money from? Unless they backload deals, right? So then you're borrowing from 2022 to pay for this year. And then you're going to pick up Saquon's option next year, which at this point, look, let's forget
you have to.
It's $7.2 million. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You're going to pick it up no matter what. But I mean, I just don't know where the money's coming from. And I saw somebody mention earlier too, they wanted to say about all the heat that DG got in the press conference too. So we talked about Kim Jones. She brought up the old comment, right? I mean, it's like we had two offensive linemen last year that were over the age of 25. Like, come on. I mean, like, really, like, and then she's been doubling down ever since. Every day she's brought it back up. And it just makes absolutely no sense from her perspective to even bring that up at all. It's ridiculous. But I really don't know where the Giants are going to go with this. So that's why I brought up the N'Keal Harry. That's why I bring up Nick Gates to right guard, because you're fixing some of the moving parts internally before moving externally. Let's face it, Nate Solder is going to be a part of this team. I'm telling you guys that right now.
Yeah,
He is.
he'll be restructured.
He may be restructured. Absolutely. He wants to be here. Let's face it. I feel bad about his situation. I can empathize with him as a father. I get it. But New York gives him the best options for his kid and his son's health care. So he wants to be in this area. He specifically chose New York for that reason. So, but yeah, we can't pay him like we have. So he has to take a pay cut. There could be some extensions for this team as well as Bradbury played last year. That was another thing that Tino and I talked about.
Martinez, Peppers, they have options. Yeah.
Martinez has talked about wanting to be a Giant for life. He's already come out and said that. So extend the guy. I like him. Bradbury's another one if they can extend him. Maybe add another 2 years. But I know I talked for about 5 minutes. So
no. Love hearing you talk about the Giants. Tino, let me get your quick thoughts.
All I was going to touch on is I don't trust Harrison as our starting center, but Mage does know that in my mock I have the Giants taking the center in the second round. So I really think they're going to address the offensive line within one of the first 2 picks. I think they'd be stupid.
I agree.
So I personally like Landon Dickerson. I think it makes a lot of sense with the Joe Judge connection. I think he'll be there for us there, obviously, because he's projected further back. But I mean, he's the best center in college football, and he tore his ACL or his meniscus in a championship game. I don't think you discredit his entire season because he got hurt in the final game of the season. He's a lineman. He's playing center. I don't think his legs are going to be that vulnerable unless he gets rolled up on. So his injury concerns aren't a problem to me. We need a true center. I think it only strengthens the team if we get a staple at center, because then we could figure out what we want to do with Solder and Pert at tackle. If we want to move Pert to guard, then we have Lemieux and Hernandez and Gates at guard, drafting a lineman within one of the first 2 picks. And if we can get a center at that, only makes the rest of the team better. So that's where I'm at with that. In terms of free agency, man, Mace pretty much took what we were talking about in the podcast. It's just right now we got to take care of Leo before I could even look at free agency, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've been telling him that. I mean, we're going to get something done. We're going to work out Leo's deal, but until that's done, we can't do anything.
We got 5 more days.
We got to get an extension done, though. He can't be on that tag.
Entertainah, I feel like, and to your point, maybe they're going to sign some smaller guys down the stretch. I did tell Mage and the people that I think the Giants are going to be patient in free agency again. Everyone wants some big game hunting for Galladay, and they wanted Robinson. I don't think they're going to be game enough in terms of money to do that early on and be aggressive early on. If he's still there in a few weeks, then we have a chance. But I know how free agency works, and things go off the shelves pretty fast. Unless we have ourselves situated, that ain't happening. And I can see the Malcolm Butlers of the world, or maybe a veteran guard or I could see those things happening for a couple mil down the road or a month away. But right now, we're not in a position to make the big splash. I saw the fake news of our boatload of guaranteed money to Bud Dupree. How? Why?
And Bud Dupree's not even going to start the year. He's not even going to start the year. He got hurt like week 12.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And I've said this on my channel now a few times. If there was, and I know fans don't want to hear it because most NFL fans treat NFL free agency like NBA free agency. They want that one big shiny toy. They want that one huge individual that they think will put this team over the top. It's not the way the NFL works, especially in this offseason. If there was ever an offseason to be as patient as possible, and I'm not even just talking about because of the Giants cap situation. I'm talking about because of the NFL situation. It is this one. You have a free agency period where you have more free agents than ever before because teams are rushing to get under the budget because of the cap situation. So you have an influx of free agents. You're talking about probably 50% more than normal in terms of quality free agents. And you have teams that are strapped because of their budget. So if you play it smart, you let these teams rush to the table, you let them set the market, you let them use their cap space, and you get the scraps. But this year, more so than any other year, the scraps are not normal scraps. These scraps, it's a nice little hamburger. You're not getting nonsense. So if there was ever a year to be as patient as possible and let the market develop in free agency, it's this one. And I think it's the approach the New York Giants will take.
2 points on that also. One to you, Tana, was a lot of people complain about the Giants cap situation. Let me just also say that they're in a lot better position than most teams. They currently have 63 players signed. under contract. That's a lot more than most teams right now. So they can go in. Training day is 90-man rosters, but they're in a lot better situation than most teams. They will get this figured out. I just don't know if they're going to be big game hunted. And Tino, to your point about Malcolm Butler, Logan Ryan did put out a tweet the other day. With the goggles. That's right, Tana. When Malcolm Butler got cut, he did say he was going to do some recruiting. Would not surprise me. Another rumor in which I heard, too, is that the Giants could be targeting Joe Thuney.
I heard that, too.
I don't know. I feel like he might command – he's an all-pro guard. No. Would I love him on the roster? Absolutely.
Dude, there's some, Maze, not to cut you off, but Trey Turner's out there now. I mean, I just wanted
Trey Turner's fat and lazy. I could play guard
every day, but to Tanner's point, every day there are some talented dudes getting cut. I mean, Hunter Henry's out. You got the tight end market.
The market's going to be flooded.
Receiver market. I mean, running back's probably quiet, but all we heard all year was that the running back free agency was going to be out of control. We got the QB carousel to watch. I mean, money's going to be flying crazy.
Be patient. Be patient. And you're going to be able to fill some of these holes. Believe me. Be patient. You're going to be able to fill
I don't think they even have a choice but to be patient, but that's definitely the route they're taking. If you look at it from last year, too, there is no rush by this team. I think they're going to take care of their own, figure out Dalvin. I think Leo and Dalvin, like we said it all along, those would be the first questions to be answered. They kind of answered Leo. They have to work out the extension. They'll knock on the door for Dalvin. What's up?
Dalvin will be back.
Yeah, but they'll knock on the door. They'll say hi. I think the Giants are going to do their due diligence on the guys at home, and then it's expand to get better. Because really, though, I still think this team's best way to get better is to draft, and I feel confident they could do it with Joe Judge at the helm.
Tina, I got a question though. Somebody mentioned LPG mentioned a 49ers player on your show earlier, I suppose. Who was it that he was talking about?
Yeah, I actually wrote it down. I just want to make sure because I hadn't looked into him at all. I thought it was a really good suggestion. I got to find it in my notes. But he had 8.5 sacks last year for the Niners. He led the team. He's the guy. He stepped in for Bosa when he went down.
Is it Solomon Thomas?
Not Solomon.
No, it's not.
Solomon Thomas got hurt too.
This guy somebody that has been mentioned in my Twitter group as an intriguing prospect too. Also a first-round pick, defensive end. So maybe potentially Patrick Graham be able to unlock him.
That amazing guy just said it. It was Kerry Hyder Jr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kerry Hyder Jr. That was the guy who was talking about. He had 8.5 sacks last year, and he got an opportunity because Bosa went down. But yeah, guys like that, I think that's what we're going to be looking at.
The Giants are living at the veteran minimum this year. Living there. Living.
But
for months. It's going to be 1-year deals again. I think we'll have a plethora of 1-year deals again. I really do see some of that.
And there's going to be ways to maneuver cap. There's going to be ways to maneuver cap. I don't think the Giants will overdo it, but there'll be ways to maneuver cap. I think they'll restructure Solder. I think they'll save 6 or 7 that way. I do think they're going to extend one of these players. Peppers might be that guy because he's young. Or maybe it's Martinez. I would sooner, even though I think Bradbury's the better player, I would sooner extend Martinez before Bradbury because the cornerback position, you know as well as I do, you lose a step, you can have a major drop-off. I think Martinez is the safer option to give that extension because if he loses a step, most of his production is from his head, his anticipation skills as a linebacker. So I'd sooner give him the extension to knock up a little bit of a cost. But there's ways they're going to be able to do this to give ourselves a little wiggle room. But it starts, like you guys said, with Leo. We have to extend Leo. We need to give a lot of guaranteed money, and we need to construct it in a way to give us some freedom this year, but still not kill future cap space.
Something, Tino, that we didn't talk about on our podcast, but I guess we could give all the listeners or watchers, viewers, a tidbit now, though. The Giants hired their next GM over this last week.
The guy from the Lions?
You guys are aware of that, right?
You think that's the next GM?
That is the next GM of the New York Football Giants.
Yeah.
So Kyle O'Brien, for anybody that doesn't know who he is, He spent 10 years in the Patriots organization with Bill Belichick, went over to the Jaguars as the director of scouting, I believe it was, with the Jaguars. So he was responsible for drafting Allen Robinson. Then he went over to the Detroit Lions, who also drafted Kenny Golladay. So he apparently has an eye for talent and drafting wide receivers, which is something that the Giants need. But also, too, don't forget how it has worked in the past with the Giants' next GMs. Jerry Reese was
In-house.
the VP of player personnel.
Oh.
Dave Gettleman was also player personnel when he was here as well. So Giants tend to do that, where I think he's going to step in. They're going to give him a year, maybe two, and he's going to take over. And he's also a Harvard graduate as well.
That sounds like a perfect fit.
Harvard graduate.
That sounds like a perfect fit. I didn't know that about him. I've been so busy with everything else. I have not done a ton of research on him. Based off what you just said, yeah, that's going to be our next GM. That's a perfect fit.
And I am telling you guys this. Joe Judge is our Bill Belichick. That guy is not going anywhere anytime soon. That organization loves him. Loves him. He is not going anywhere anytime soon.
I agree with you on that. I think Judge will be here for at least 15 years. At least 10 years. I think he's going to be here for a long time.
I mean, think about it, Tane. I mean, he's definitely not going anywhere. I mean, you think Kyle O'Brien was brought in because John Mara or Steve Tisch or Dave Gettleman said, I want that guy? No. He was under Bob Quinn, and then he was also in the Patriot system for 10 years. I mean, trust me, Joe Judge has an impact on this front office, also on this roster. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. That's why also, too, connect the dots. N'Keal Harry, Malcolm Butler, maybe even Joe Thuney. I hate to say it because pretty soon we're going to be able to make the same jokes we did 3 years ago where we were the New York Cardinals. This is going to be a New York Patriots coming up real soon.
I'd rather be the New York Patriots than the New York Cardinals.
Any day of the week. It's not even close.
Yeah.
That was a shitty Cardinals team, too. Terrible Cardinals team to replicate.
But I think we're probably going to wrap this up.
Yep.
I had so much fun, though, popping on here. We're going to – guys, everybody in the chat, we're going to do this a lot more regularly. We'll figure out our schedules in season, but as many post-game as we can do, I want to do them. You know, I want to do live streams, try to build this, have an hour post-game, whatever it may be, talking about the game, talking about things that we like, that we dislike, trying to build up this Mets community. And it's going to be fun growing it, man. I always like new challenges, and this is going to be one of them. And I can't wait to grow this channel with you guys. You guys are great guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. But, yeah, had a blast again, guys.
Shout out to all the people who are helping us grow already right now. I know we're nearing 350 subs, and we haven't even been that active over the last 2 weeks, and we're still getting subs over that time. So, you know, I love that you guys are loving the stuff, and I want to make sure we stay on this and continue to put stuff out. We'll definitely be doing post-game stuffs. I want to do some other stuff. I know we had some people in the chat looking for more general baseball. As the season comes, if there's a topic that is, you know, at a large enough scale, I'm sure we're going to touch on it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, we talk about Bauer plenty on this show. So, you know, for all the people who aren't pure Mets fans and are here just because they're like hanging out with us, I appreciate you guys too. We'll definitely try to mix in some other baseball talk. We're primarily Mets, obviously, and those are going to be the points we hit on. But, you know, we're aiming for an hour. We're at an hour 40 now. We'll stay here, talk movies, other sports, other baseball teams all night long if we could. Because this is great for us, great for me, man, and great for us. I love interacting with you guys. I appreciate, you know, the love, great stream. I mean, we work on it, and we're busting our butts over here, trying to make sure that, you know, we give you guys the best stuff that we can. So I appreciate you all. Mage, anything?
No, I think you said it best. I know anytime we end one of these streams, I always thank everybody for watching. I appreciate the participation. Honestly, it makes an hour and a half feel like 15 minutes. So to keep it going, I you know, we constantly talk about different things. We'll go off on a tangent, or I will sometimes, but it's always great. I love the interaction. I love the support. Honestly, I just love hearing all the great things, seeing the repeat faces. John, Ray, MH, a lot of people. We didn't get Asia today, so I know she's probably upset or probably working. But I
She'll be
love
back.
you.
She'll be back.
Yeah, and just to see the same faces each week, it feels good to me just to know that you guys are enjoying the content that we're putting out. So much appreciated. Thank you.
I see you guys shouting out too. Make sure you check out the Entertainah's Knicks streamed. Obviously, basketball season is hot and bothered right now. I got a futures on the Knicks making the postseason, so I'm hoping that stays strong.
How many got on that? How many shekels you got on that one?
So I just put $10 at the start of the season though at 18-1, so it's $10 to win 180. I'll take that.
They were 18-1
to make the playoffs. I wish I put more, but that's just that's my unit size. I'll put $10-20 always. Like I'm not gonna go any higher, but $10 to win 180.
You are a Nets fan, though.
I am a Nets fan. I don't need to rub that into people's faces right now, though.
Wow.
Because no one's happy about it other than Nets fans. We don't need to talk about that.
Didn't they just sign another washed-up player, too?
Yeah, another washed-up player. And let's not talk about how there's 2 other washed-up players, actually 3 now on the market that they also could probably get for a veteran minimum. Aldridge, Drummond, and or DeMarcus Cousins. Really, Aldridge or Drummond would make it completely unfair. But Nets are going to be good. But maybe we see the Nets and the Knicks play each other in the playoffs. That would be awesome. That'd be really awesome.
That'd be cool. We'd get killed, but it'd be cool. It'd be cool.
Durant hasn't played yet, and they're beating the Celtics handedly. So not a great look for the East. But yeah, okay, guys, let's wrap this up. We've talked about every sport now. Big shout out to you guys that have watched.
We didn't talk about hockey or badminton.
No, or golf. I actually bet on golf this weekend. Completely different stream, completely different topic. Let's wrap this up. We can talk off air. Guys, thank you. We love you. Let's go Mets. And talk to you guys soon.